Claude Sonnet 5 launched just a few hours ago. By tonight, every AI channel on YouTube will have posted the SWE-bench score and a 5-minute vibe check. I'm not doing that video. 20 years of running IT rollouts taught me that the number that matters isn't a benchmark, it's whether a tool can do 2 jobs from 1 brief without mixing them up. So today, on day 1 for Sonnet 5, no second tape, 1 call transcript built to match a real project call, 1 prompt, 2 outputs, a Confluence-ready process write-up and a status report pulled from the same conversation. And this isn't a quiet status update. There's a decision buried in that call that would knock most project plans sideways. So if Sonnet 5 drags the wrong half into the wrong document, you'll see it live as we do it. Let's see what Sonnet 5 can do. Right then, here's exactly what I'm doing with no hidden steps. I've built a transcript which matches a real project call. 2 voices of context tangled together, a technical walkthrough from one of my engineers, and a project status conversation, blockers, decisions, the whole shebang. Now, this is anonymized and tailored. Obviously, I can't use a real client transcript for this, but it's largely generated from a real-world scenario I have been through. What's Sonnet 5 to do? I'm going to give it 1 prompt. I'm going to give it that messy transcript, and I'm going to ask it for 2 outputs. Output number 1. The first part of the call is a technical walkthrough. I wanted to take that part of the call and turn it into a Confluence-ready wiki page with the right kind of heading set up and everything, so I can just copy and paste it straight into the wiki. And the second part is a project status conversation. There's decisions to be made in there, blockers come up, and a absolute bomb is dropped right at the end, which turns the project on its head. Now, the reason I'm asking it for 2 outputs here is one of Anthropic's claims with Sonnet 5 is that it's the Anthropic's most agentic model yet. And what they mean by that is that you can give it an input and have it go off and perform multi-step tasks seamlessly. Hence the 2 very different outputs. So I want to make sure that they're kept separate. I want to make sure that both outputs match exactly the brief that I'm giving it. And that'll give it the test. That's the setup. That's what we're doing. Let's take Sonnet 5 for a test drive. Here we are, Sonnet 5. Hi, evening Cliff, thank you very much. All right, so I'm going to put the prompt in here. So we can see it here. As I say, it's got the transcript call going in. It's in 2 parts. It's the technical walkthrough. It's the project status update. I want both separate. I'm going to put in the markdown file with the call transcript. Excellent. Here we go. Let's run it. One of the other claims is that with Sonnet 5, you would get near Opus level outputs, but in a much quicker time. So let's see how long this takes. Here we go. That was relatively fast. That was literally, I think, probably about 1.5 minutes in real world time. Let's see what it's done here. So first of all, we have the wiki article. Let's have a look here. So been a setup guide. Good. That's what the technical walkthrough was. We can go down here. It's all pretty generic. It looks good. It's got the right titles and setup in. If I scoot over to the code view, we can see it's done it all in Markdown, so that will copy and paste over into Confluence nicely. Cool. So it's made the wiki article. It's done the walkthrough. It's not bled over any of the project updates or project status stuff. It's not even mentioned the name of the client involved here. So good stuff. Good start. So wiki article has passed. Now, this is where it could get tricky and it could break with the status alert. Let's see how it's handled the situation that arises and what it's done. Fantastic. Here we go. So it's picked up all of the attendees, myself, Dave and Mark from Cliffinkent Consulting, and Lucy, Bob and Paul from Fred Maker, a fashion retail outfit. Good summarization of what we've done. It's picked up the key decisions. It's spoken about the session manager here, called out who it's driven by. We've got an action called out here. I'm hoping it's actually pulled out a proper action table down at the bottom, but we will see. We want some networking stuff. We've got the blockers, so the IP side of ranges is still unconfirmed by the client network team. Perfect. Here we go. The new risk. So right at the end of the call transcript, the client CTO drops the bomb that the deadline is moved up. The current hosting provider is going to kick them out in 2 months' time, and there is a hard stop that it has to be done by them, which as a PM, you absolutely love. The challenge, the thrill, the excitement. Definitely not a head banging against the wall moment. But here we are. It's called that out. Called out as the risk. There weren't any specific dates mentioned in the transcript, so it's not made up any. So that's to see no hallucinations there. needs a revised plan. Perfect. And it has done here. So here we go. So it's pulled out the action items in a separate table at the bottom. Boom. Fantastic. The only thing that I would like to have seen it done and pick up is the action table was great. I would have liked to have seen a risk table as well, but it's done the jobs well. It's picked up, it's completed the 2 activities as asked for. The wiki article is formatted correctly. It's definitely just the process steps. None of the project status has bled into it. And likewise on the project status report, it's got all of the key points in there. It's called out the risks. It's picked up all the actions in there for me as well. So fantastic, right? So day 1 first take, not a final verdict. Here's where I've landed with this one. So both outputs were super clean. There was no process detail in the status report. There was no project detail in the process guide. But the more interesting thing is what didn't show up. The trap I flagged before around this, definitely not in the wiki article. And it judged that as a one-off security call. There isn't a repeatable method. So it's done well there. It's kept it in the status report with the actual reason attached. That's not just text matching, that's scoping the problem and understanding the context behind what's going on. It's also got the prioritization of things right. The contract termination isn't buried in a bullet list. It's got its own section, flagged new risk in big bold letters. And every action in that table points at Wednesday because that's the next date that matters as the CTO calls out as the next touch point. So 1 test, 1 transcript, A1. It's a first take, not a verdict. I'm not going to pretend otherwise, right? This was a one-off test task. Now, I'm impressed so far. It's done a good job and it was super quick. It blasted through that in probably less than a minute. Now, what might change my mind either way? I'd like to potentially do this against and compare it against some other models. But I think what's actually going to give me a really good view of Sonnet 5 is using it continuously for the next week, which I'm going to do. Give it a good run through a actual real world work task, real world home life tasks, and a real run through like my content creation process and all that good stuff as well. And see how it handles both in the chat and also in things like co-work and Claude Code as well. So if you want to know how that goes, hit that subscribe button down there so you get the update video next week as well. And while you're down there, hop in the description. You can sign up to the newsletter and you'll get my point of view and all that good stuff each week as well. Now, the prompt will be down in the description. It'll be in the newsletter that comes out as well. So to say, if you want the proper verdict, once I've lived with this for a week and really put it through its places, it took me way too many times to say that. Subscribe so you'll get that one as well. Let me know how you're getting on with it. What do you think? What task have you run through it? Have you been impressed? Have you been disappointed? I'd love to know. Let me know down in the comments as well. Thanks for watching. Stay peachy.